And I encourage people to do the same thing. Find what works with your current schedule. I think it's working because I have more recovery time. That seems to still be progressing because I could still lift heavier than I have been able to. My joints are actually feeling good. Things are feeling even a little better than they were. There's no rule, again, that says that it has to be directly hit to contribute volume to the work being done by the muscle group. So I come back and I do my indirect volume there, then so be it. But I'm getting that indirect work, but never twice directly.
So in some sense, you are similar to the Mike Mentzer philosophy, not of one set to absolute failure, because he was really, really on the far end of things there.
I did that too. I just, again, couldn't sustain that.
Right. Splitting the split. You wouldn't suggest it to people, but life happens. So what does that look like? Maybe you're doing 3 sets of squats and coming back 2 days later and doing the other 3 sets of squats? In terms of frequency of training a given muscle group across the week, I'll just say 2 things that most people don't think about. One, there's nothing special about a week. I mean, we use a week as a division of time, but muscles don't really care about weeks. They care about stimulus and recovery, the adaptation, the hypertrophy, the strength. So I consider myself somebody with a relatively poor recovery quotient. I can hit each muscle group directly hard once per week. So sets to failure, somewhere in between what, say, Dorian does and what you do. You know, yesterday's workout felt slightly higher than the normal volume that I would do. The workout I did with him was slightly lower, so somewhere in between. But there's a lot of indirect training. For instance, I'll train my legs really hard one day per week, but then I'll also do a HIIT workout on the assault bike. And yeah, it's not a squat workout, but my legs get some stimulation from that. My lats do too. And I'll do a sprint workout one day per week. So that's what works for me. For you personally, before you make a suggestion for the larger world out there, how often can you directly hit a muscle group with the kind of intensity and volume that we did in the video that, you know, we provide a link to?
I can only directly hit that muscle group the same as you once a week, with that level of intensity. Even in what we were doing yesterday, a lot of my focus is on you. I'm trying to focus on making sure you're doing what you're doing right. I'm trying to coach my way through what I'm doing. So it's like, if it was just me in my own gym, I might have even zoned out a little bit more, gone a little bit harder, got a little bit uglier face when I was doing my repetitions that were hard. So it might be even a little notch above what was shown in our video in terms of intensity. I can't do that more than once a week for a muscle group.
But you're also training back, you're also training chest, you're also training shoulders on a separate day. Well,
that's the key, right? Yeah. So when people recommend higher frequency sessions, or every 48 hours or twice a week minimum and all that, you are also forcing yourselves into some splits that have a lot more muscles being trained at once. Because in order to get back to them again in the same 7-day week period, you have to do multiple in one day. So let's just say in a push-pull leg scenario, you have to do all your pushing muscles. So right off the bat, you're doing chest, shoulders, triceps in one day. I find even that to be a lot to ask for me at times, not all the time, but especially if I'm short on sleep and short on time that day. I can't get through all those and get an adequate stimulus because there's just too much work to be done. So that creates a need to have to condense into these multi-muscle group splits that you go through the push, you go through the pull, you go through the legs. Now you got to have, let's say, 1 rest day, come right back again. So you're training 6 days a week. Some people can't manage that either. But what I do is I say, all right, if I train, let's just say biceps like we did, and I do them really hard, and I even just did biceps and triceps, say. If I did those 2, I still have to get through legs, I have to get through shoulders, I have to get through chest, I have to get through, I break legs into anterior and posterior chains, so sort of 2 workouts. I have to get through a lot more in the week. So if I had to get it all done in 1 week, I would run out of time. First thing I do is I extend beyond the 7 days. So I break that rule, because I realize, like you said, that our body doesn't know the difference. So it's okay if it takes me a little bit longer to wrap around before I do whatever, the arms again, let's say, in this case, the arms again. So I break that rule. It could be 9 days for me in terms of my cycle. But I know that when I come back after biceps, if I do 2, let's say I do posterior chain legs and then I do chest, right? Even just a single muscle group. When I come back and I do back, the reason why back is following chest is I'm gonna give my chest a reprieve from the day before volume. And then again, if it takes me a little bit longer to wrap around based on how I'm pairing things together, then so be it. But I'm getting that indirect work, but never twice directly.
So in some sense, you are similar to the Mike Mentzer philosophy, not of one set to absolute failure, because he was really, really on the far end of things there.
I did that too. I just again couldn't sustain that.
Right, but in terms of not making the 7-day week the holy grail of how you organize your schedule. Because, you know, Mike, I was fortunate enough to know him I paid him for a consult and got to know him over the years, before he unfortunately passed away. And he had me training I think it was like shoulders and arms, rest 2 days.
Yeah.
Then it was like legs, rest 2 days, and then chest and back and rest 2 days.
It was
and
mind-blowing.
Yeah, it was mind-blowing. And the problem with that, I think for a beginner is you get results. You certainly get results, but you don't get the opportunity to develop the skill of training. I mean,
or the enjoyment of it, right?
Or the enjoyment. So 3, maybe 4 days a week of resistance training for me just is like the sweet spot. But as with you, I've found that I can give myself permission, like if travel comes up or a poor night's sleep or some extra workload or something, like, okay, there can be an extra day after legs, or you can modify things, which brings me to my other question. Yesterday, after we were training, I learned something remarkable, which is there are times when you will split your split simply based on real life constraints. And you gave a beautiful example. I'm smiling already. You said, there are times when you're supposed to train at night, but you go in to read to your boys or spend some time with them before sleep, and you'll like fall asleep next to them.
That's more often than not.
Yeah. So then you'll go into the gym at your home gym at like 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and you'll do half of your leg workout. And then you'll literally split the split and come back and do the remainder of that workout a few days later.
Yeah.
I love this example because it's the real world.
Yeah.
And obviously you're prioritizing time with your boys. And that's what really matters. That's why you're training in the first place. I mean, yes, to have your physique, et cetera, but you're a dad.
That's what motivates me
That's
now.
what motivates you to be around for a long time. So splitting the split, you wouldn't suggest it to people, but life happens. So what does that look like? Is it that you're doing like your quad workout and then you're normally you would also do something else, but you're doing the other stuff later, or maybe you're doing 3 sets of squats and coming back 2 days later and doing the other 3 sets of squats?
So here's the irony of it. I don't know if I wouldn't recommend splitting the split. I feel like I'm starting to learn that splitting the split is me breaking a bad habit that I was unwilling to break a long time because of the same mentality that led me to think of a 7-day training week, right? That I think what's happening and that I've been seeing is that splitting the split does a few things for me mentally. It recharges me on a night where I really don't have a lot in the tank. If I get over there and I was just sleeping for the last 30 minutes or 45 minutes, I'm not like in the greatest state of mind to train. But if I know that the requirement is, let's just get through, if I'm gonna do my shoulders, let's say, let me get through half of what I would normally do. I'm gonna focus today on the non-strength focused stuff because I'm just not neurologically prepared to do that right now. So let's just work on the lateral raises, the strict lateral raises in that case. A hip exercise I like is a hip hugger. It's just different exercises that I would do that would be perceived as the non-compound exercises. And I'll do those, and what I find very quickly is that because I can ease into those exercises, they're not as heavily loaded, but they're high intensity. It doesn't have to come from the load, it comes from the effort. I can ease into them. After 1 or 2 sets, I'm good and I'm like kind of into it. And I know that once I'm done with these 6 sets or so, I'm done for the night and I can come back and do my strength work when I'm ready, which could be 2 days later usually. Sometimes the very next night. Really, I'll just split it to the next night and whatever was planned gets bumped one spot. It's gonna extend that training week even further so that 9 days can become, 11 or 12. But we talked about recovery before. Like it seems to be working well with me for my recovery at this age. And again, I think I have very bad sleep habits only because the result of working out at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock is and by the way, eating dinner after that's my dinner time. Like eating dinner after that, I get to bed 1:30 in the morning and I'm getting up at 7, or I get up to bed at 2 o'clock and I'm getting up at 7. This might be what works for me best right now because I don't have the recovery through as much sleep as I should get. Now, I know a lot of people will yell and say, well, you need to work on your sleep and get better recovery. I understand that. Right now, this little pattern is where I'm in. It can be fixed by me training earlier in the day, stepping away from work and training earlier in the day. I haven't found the time or the way to do that effectively at this moment. So this is what I have to navigate. And I encourage people to do the same thing. Find what works with your current schedule. You can have an eye towards fixing it, but what works for your schedule to get you through this time period? I think it's working because I have more recovery time in a less recovered sleep state that seems to still be progressing because I could still lift heavier than I have been able to. I'm still able to create effective workouts for me. I feel good. My joints are actually feeling good. Things are feeling even a little better than they were. So it happens to be working for me. So I might be changing my mind a little bit about frequencies and volumes in terms of what I do in a given workout. And accepting the fact that it can happen over 2 days is so relieving because it's like, I don't have to bring it all today. I can just sort of get this much done today. And it allows me to have a higher effort to handle, again, some of the lower volumes that we're doing. So it's like a win-win all around. And the kids like me more for it too.
Yeah, well, and someday they'll see this and they're going to see so much of your content. I mean, they're grateful.
They're totally
for it.
disinterested right now.
Yeah, but they're grateful for. I mean, they're going to be grateful for the fact that, I mean, you're obviously prioritizing them and your wife and your family, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff, thank you so much for the workout yesterday. Definitely learned a number of things.
That was fun.
I'm definitely feeling
We got to
it a
do
bit.
more of those.
Yeah, we should do more. And thank you for coming back to educate us. Some people, when they speak, like, not a whole lot happens except a bunch of exhales shaped into sound. When you speak, people learn, and they learn super valuable information. Everything from the basics all the way up to the nuance, constantly educating yourself. Already, just a moment ago, you know, you're still evolving the way you're doing things, and you share that. And again, these so-called small things that allow one to do the big things for much longer and much more effectively is really what it's all about. And you clearly walk the walk. You look awesome. You're 50, you know, steroid, TRT free, all of that, and you look incredible. And so probably none people who are doing what you're doing. You're truly an N of one that you can encapsulate all this. And you're just so generous with your time and your energy. And so I'm very grateful for you coming on here again.
I was so pumped. I've been wanting to come back here for so long, and the negotiating the travel is always a thing for me, but I was so excited to be able to do it, finally do it, and get the workout in, and come back and sit down with you is always my favorite thing. So thank you for having me.
Well, please come back again. You're an inspiration to me. And like I said, you're a absolutely extraordinary educator. Thank you.
Thank you.